God was back in court this week, in the Supreme Court of the United States, no less. The court, in a 5-4 decision, affirmed the legality and appropriateness of prayers being offered in Greece, New York's town board meetings. I applaud that decision, both as a fan of prayer and as a fan of free speech. But as a friend of mine who, talking about the case with me, remarked, isn't the real problem here all in the details? Which I thought was funny because, of course, we all know the old expression that the devil is in the details. But as my friend wisely noticed, God is also in the details. 3 details that I take away from the process of how we got to this place, how the court rendered its decisions, and how we can move forward in as healthy a way as possible from this decision are the following. First, how did we get here? Why was this even in court? While I appreciate the concerns of the 2 women who initiated legal proceedings against their own town, I do wonder how often we quickly turn to litigation before we genuinely try conversation, and how much of that is because we immediately assume if we can't have every conclusion we already want, then there's nothing worth talking about, as opposed to saying, we each want something here. Can we talk about how to get as much as possible and preserve as much of what each side wants, given what the other side needs? That's not just about prayer in public places. That's actually a life lesson, especially in a country that runs to court much more often than it does run to talk to each other. That's how we got there, I think. How did the court make this decision? Actually, it was no surprise. It was a 5-4 split. And that's a real challenge. Increasingly, we see all members of the court, with the possible exception of Justice Kennedy, always coming down on the side you expect them to. And if there are no surprises coming out of the court, can we honestly say that the most important jurists in the land are ever breaking new ground, learning anything new, or teaching us anything new? And if they're not, is that really good for the country and its legal system? But probably most important, how do we move forward from this place, knowing that not all people will all appreciate all of the prayers that are being offered in Greece, New York, or anywhere else? I have a very simple suggestion. Pray, at least in public places, pray in the I, not the we. What do I mean? Give whatever prayer you want, and pray it as if it is your prayer, not necessarily the prayer that is shared by everyone there. We may share the desired outcome of good town meetings, conducted civilly, reaching wide decisions. But whatever name of God you invoke it as the God you follow, who inspires you to care about everyone who's in the room. See, I believe in public prayer. But the thing that has to accompany public prayer and carving out space for those public prayers is carving out space for all those other people who pray differently than we do, or who may not choose to pray at all. It's not about owning the whole space. It's about proudly finding your own and using that success to help others find theirs, whether they call on God in the name that you do, or whether they happen not to call on God